Welcome to the Six Again podcast, your new destination for all things NRL. Here to bring you everything from team news to best bets are your hosts Adam Hoy and Jared Newton. Let's kick off.
So, Jared, it's now 8 o'clock on Monday night. We've had to, again, second week in a row, get this done Monday night because of a late game. But what a game it was worth waiting for.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
Sorry. I was trying to be positive about the whole situation.
Unfortunately, there's not many positives for both teams coming out. I mean, Bulldogs won, but did they?
Well, maybe that's a good time slot for these sort of games, 3 o'clock on a Monday.
Yeah, well...
I know supposedly it was a public holiday. Oh, there was a public holiday in New South Wales. It wasn't in Queensland, so I don't know how many people up here actually got to watch it, if they were planning on. But
I got the second.
It's a good time slot for these sort of games.
Yeah, well, you'd hope they wouldn't put it on a Friday night anyway.
Jesus, look at us kicking the two teams while they're down. Hey, my team gets shut on when we're on top, so suck it.
Everyone's supporting my team now.
Oh, there we go. I'm not.
Everyone. I tell you what, the amount of Newcastle fans you see now over the last 10 years, they're fucking everywhere now, aren't they?
It's like a Broncos supporter. They only wear their jersey if they're winning. I haven't seen any Broncos jerseys for.
Or like I know a Parramatta supporter who fits that mould.
Really? What? Hey Billy. So this is another cracking week of footy, guys. Again, some big scores, but maybe for some different reasons this week. We've got some talking points, nothing really big to go over. There's not many injuries out of this week and pretty quiet week at the judiciary as well. So we should be able to get into the game analysis for each game pretty quickly. And we'll take it from there. So with regards to talking points for the week, a couple straight off the top. We talked about Terry Lamb's breach at Bulldogs training with regards to COVID-19 breaches. They've been fined $25,000. So a pretty expensive little visit to his club. I know, I'm not shocked. The NRL said that they were going to hand out stuff. I don't know if 25 is a lot, but for a team that's already struggling with salary cap and struggling through financial, probably not something they needed on top of things.
Look, it was a pretty dumb move, but which I don't agree with. They've got these rules in place for a reason, but I'm guessing they didn't even think about it. Like the doorman saw, one of their greatest players walk into the door, and he's like, "Here you go, Mr. Lamb," and open the door for him. Like, I don't think they would have thought about the fact that, oh crap, maybe we shouldn't let him in, which they should have, but it wasn't a planned event.
Exactly. It's the same as like Tedesco woke up with a temperature, and he could have been all right by that night, but that rules you out straight away. That's just the world we're in.
But there's conspiracy theories about that. They reckon the Broncos supporters in the hotel he was in turned up the heat in his room, so he couldn't play.
Didn't help.
Well, if he was playing, it would have been.
It would have helped my fantasy team a bit more. I lost by like 6 points in my public league. Anyway, Andrew Abdo looks as though he's going to become the new NRL CEO. It hasn't been officially announced, but the NRL has called off its widespread search for a CEO, and it seems as though Abdo already has the backing of the clubs and the club stakeholders, which is a big tick.
I think the biggest tick, he's got the backing of the Landys.
That too. I think. Well, I guess he's doing a good job in that no one's talking about him, and if no one's talking about him, he hasn't done anything stupid.
But
big mistake was the fines handed down with regards to Mitchell and Addo-Carr. It's the only time he's actually had to step in and do something. So
it'll be interesting
publicly.
Like right now, the Landys is running the game. No matter who they appoint, the Landys. It'd be interesting when the Landys leaves. That's what will be interesting in the game, because he'll have to take a pretty heavy step into the limelight a lot more.
And with the comments that Vlandy's made, doesn't sound like he's going to be leaving anytime soon. But he has made it clear there is an end point. We've talked about that previously. All right. So with everything going on in the world, there was a certain radio host who probably didn't say the smartest thing. We're only really touching on this more for Fanua Blake's response. And then also Martin DePauw's, I think. So if you haven't heard, Erin Molan.
The lizard?
Sorry?
She's a lizard.
Oh, all right. She's on a radio show with Daryl Broman and I can't remember the other. I don't listen to it. Anyway, it's called Continuous Call on 2GB, and they were talking about how hard it is to say some of the Polynesian names, and she put on an accent and said "huka luka muka huka fuka," which took her commentators, had them taken aback, and her explanation was it's an inside joke about a previous commentator having trouble with pronouncing names. Now, on a normal day without everything else going on, you'd say it's a pretty dumb thing to do. In this sort of timing, really dumb sort of thing to do. And she's been called out by players and social media commentary quite a lot and pretty quickly. She hasn't apologised. It's, as Jared said, what do you say about with regards to apologies?
She didn't do it. Actually, no, just do what Adam Fanua Blake said. Read that out. That kind of sums it up pretty well.
Fanua Blake's response to her: Erin Molan, if you're not going to apologise for making jokes about Islander names, at least apologise for ruining the footy show. Gronk. He wrote an Instagram.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good reply with regards to throwing the footy show in there.
What did Tapau say?
So Tapau is a bit more serious than Fanua Blake. But he said, understandable for our non-Pacifica community attempting to properly announce our names, but to disrespect and make a mockery of former current Pacifica players in the NRL, like how you carried on, is disgraceful. My grandfather would be tossing in his grave in anger. So what that stems from is the Pacifica community, Maori community, Aboriginal community take a lot more pride, I think, in their last names than Caucasian races, because it means more. It's a link to culture. It's a link to their history, and it is really offensive. And she obviously didn't have full understanding about that. So if you're going to learn anything this week, politely ask or try to say the name correctly. It's not hard.
Marty Tapau hit it on the head when he said, a lot of people do struggle. I struggle with pronouncing some of the names.
Yeah, I'm a teacher. I struggle with names.
But you don't have to make a mockery of it. Like Adam said, ask.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of... She isn't overly popular amongst anyone in the NRL, really, except for Channel 9. So, she's not making her popularity any better.
Nope.
Let's put it that way.
I just saw Hammond Uele's response. If that's a joke between colleagues, then fuck that workplace.
Yeah, well.
That's pretty much straight to the point. All right, so what else we got there? Oh, yeah, something... I'll get back to that, I think. We're going to be talking about these two controversial calls, one more controversial, I guess, than the other. One's getting more attention than the other, with regards to the Titans' 10-metre kickoff that gave them the set to win the game against the Tigers, and also the non-forward pass in the Parramatta Manly game. Now, the NRL was quite quick and decisive in coming out with regards to one of those calls, but Graham Annesley also gave an insight that before all this COVID stuff hit, before the season started, 4 different companies, independent companies, had approached the NRL with regards to technology that would allow them to judge on a forward pass. And Graham Annesley said that's great, we're interested, but come back when you can alter or modify that technology to be able to showcase whether a player's hands are backwards at the point of release or forwards, because that's what the rule comes down to. So it's in the works. It was already in the works before this happened. He said they're still a little way off, but at least there's plans in place for something like this. And I think it's important because just looking on Twitter after that game, there was a lot of people who didn't even understand the call itself and why. I said, it went forward. It's a forward pass. The ball ended up in front of where it was passed. Every pass ends up forwards from where it was passed. It's called momentum. Some are obviously more obvious than others, but the point is if the ball goes backwards out of the hands, it can fly 40 meters forward and still be okay. As long as the person catching it was behind it on release. That's correct, yeah?
Yeah. Look, as a Manly fan, you probably have a bit more emotion attached to this. And
on the night I did.
Yeah, but look, I agree with every referee decision on the field.
We'll get to the referee decision.
Okay. Yeah, no, you're right.
Just the technology for this.
Okay. Technology, look, they had if you go back to, I think it was Super League. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was Super League. They actually brought in technology to rule on forward passes way back when. So what they did was they got all these lines on the field and lined it up with release of hands. And from what I understand, from what I've been told, because I haven't actually looked it up properly, but it took 20 minutes to determine it. There's a reason that the video referee isn't allowed to rule on forward passes. And if they do get the technology, that means they've got the technology to do it. They haven't had the technology to do it yet.
Yeah.
If the technology works and it works quickly in the mode of the current game the way it is, I don't like bringing in video referee more, but it might be an option. And the thing is that do you only use it in scoring plays? Like, do you use it for those flat balls from dummy half?
So the article I was reading up on, it wouldn't be a video referee sort of bunker thing. It's a instantaneous signal or instantaneous alarm whether a ball's travelled forward or backwards out of the hands. So every single pass would be analysed and
Jesus Christ.
A signal would go straight to the ref that it's come forward out of the hands.
You better do it quickly. The way the game moves. Fuck.
So that's the sort of level, because I don't want to slow it down by bringing another video in.
So they're rating it on every single pass.
I guess they could if they needed, if they wanted to. I don't see that working, but that's the sort of sense that they want. They want that sort of accuracy that they'd be able to rule on every pass.
I doubt we have the technology for that, especially the speed of the game. And look, technology fucks up.
Oh yeah.
Technology glitches. Technology might not work one night.
Yeah.
Like in one game, if you're ruling all the forward passes through technology. Oh, sorry, not all the forward passes, but every pass. Yeah. And in the next game, 12 hours away, an hour, like half an hour later, and the technology doesn't work. How does that fit?
Yeah, no, you'd be in a world of shit. I think that's why we're still a way off. But that's us. That's the instructions that those companies have been given, which is interesting to say the least. All right, we've got some comments with regards to analysis of games from different people, but we'll come back to that now. Before we go any further, just wanted to say if there was something that you guys want us to talk about at the start of a show like this, or throughout, a way that you can connect with us as well that we haven't really talked about a lot. But if you go onto just our website, just anchor.fm, anchor.fm, /6 again, Ahoy J Mutant, or just type anchor 6 again into Google, you can actually record a voice message that we'll receive on our Anchor platform, and we can upload it directly into the show. So if you wanted to ask a question by doing it that way, you just jump on there, hit message, it records the question, and we can play it on show and then respond to it. So if you want to give that a crack, that'd be cool to see. And, well, obviously here. All right. Judiciary out of week 4, Sam Lasone and Ash Taylor were both charged with dangerous contact in their game against the Tigers. They both can escape a sanction with an early guilty plea. And also Wanga Blake will receive no suspension for his high shot on Danny Levi. If he accepts it, it's $550 fine. If he argues and fails, it'll be a $750 fine. So I'm guessing he's probably going to accept it. No news as of yet out of the Monday night game. Injury-wise, Victor Radley looked in quite a bit of pain against the Broncos late. He, quote, has a sore elbow and will be monitored. Isaac Liu is in concussion protocol that he will have to pass this week. Roosters don't play till Monday, so they should be sweet. Johnny Asiata, big loss for the Cowboys, out 4 to 6 weeks with a meniscus injury. He will be having arthroscopic surgery to have a look and have a clean out. Mitch Dunn also has to pass a HIA through the week. Kurt Mann picked up an ankle injury against the Raiders. He could miss a week. No definites there. Ponga and Whiten both received head knocks in the game. Whiten's a bit more serious. Has to pass HIA protocol through the week. Jerome Hughes picked up a broken hand. Now, he had surgery. He'll be out 2 to 3 weeks. We'll talk about Bellamy's options on our Wednesday night show. And Josh Adokar has rib cartilage damage that he's managing. And I don't know if you saw, but Luke Garner got hit in the throat by someone's elbow. But he seems to be all good. So I guess the big one there is Jerome Hughes. But in saying that, it could be a blessing in disguise.
Bellamy's got a few decisions to make on that one. They reckon that Smith might go to halfback, which I don't agree. I reckon you just throw Jackson there, but yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Even Cooper Johnsy's saying. But John Asiata out
that would be cool.
Weeks.
Cooper John's debut win against Newcastle.
Yeah, it's good to see Tom Gilbert get a run, but Asiata, he's one of the most key, I think, bench players in the comp. The Cowboys lose nothing when he comes on with regards to grit and effort, and they actually gain some in a bit of ball playing. So
I love that. Yeah, he can play both roles. If they need him just to hold the ball and run, and he make meters, he can do it. If they need him to, if Clifford or Morgan or Drinkwater aren't playing their game, they've got an extra option there to throw the ball to.
Exactly.
So they're going to miss him.
I'd love that in fantasy because you can get like a dual position option. I'd love his just to be front row forward 5'8" or front row forward halfback.
Front row forward.
Just to give you some flexibility. All right, let's get into the game. So we're going to start with the Monday night game, so it's kind of fresh in our minds. So we've got it was Battle of the Bottom. We built it on the last podcast with Hazard and Wally on, and I'm guessing Wally's face is probably as red as his hair after watching that.
And beard.
Bulldogs running out 22-2 victors. And, what do you make of this one, Jared?
It wasn't a good game. Bulldogs, look, if someone watched rugby league in that game and they saw the Bulldogs play, they'd think they're world beaters. Just because of the fact that they had so much confidence. After about 20 minutes when they felt each other out, because after that, when they realised they were on top, their confidence just like skyrocketed because they weren't playing to hang in the game anymore. They were playing to win.
That's it. It's a big difference.
We haven't actually seen that from the Bulldogs in a long time. So they were able to put on a few tries. There was a few good tries in there, a few decent cutout balls, but like everyone's commenting on McGregor might not have his job by the end of the week. Look, Dean Pay, probably is in a bit of a better situation as far as his roster goes, but still they won. They're probably going to get who they play next week. Brought back down to earth. That's
what I'm just trying to have a look at here.
Bulldogs are playing Roosters. Oh shit!
Oh joy! There you
go. Oh shit! So I think
don't know. Roosters could be tired after their last game.
No.
They only get till next Sunday to recover.
I think they're going to get a bit of a. Roosters have got a pretty good draw right now, don't they? I think they're going to get pretty well.
Supposedly they've got the hardest draw, but
knocked down to earth, bloody next week, and all this week you're going to hear about McGregor's job.
Yeah,
McGregor's job. You're going to pay his job. So that's all it really comes down to. Whoever won this week is going to get a bit of a breather. Whoever losses is going to cop it so much more.
I'm just having a look through. I caught probably about 80% of this game. There was about 10-15 minute period in the second half that I missed where the Bulldogs scored their third try. So I went back and had a look at that, and it was actually a nice sweeping backline move. They got around the Dragon.
Yeah.
Now, the first 10 minutes of this game was just
horrible.
Oh, no, not the first 10. The first 10 was just intensity and defense and feeling each other out. And then it was kind of weird. The Bulldogs had 3 sets in a row within the they had 3 sets within the Dragons 30 metres, and they came up with drop ball on all 3. The Dragons drop ball, and it just descended into just crap. And it looked like the bottom 2 teams. And then kind of Bulldogs started getting on a rhythm, a couple of passes stuck, and they got out to a bit of a lead. And then from there, it was kind of it. I wouldn't say they ran away with it, but Dragons did not at all look like staging a comeback. They had one highlight reel moment where they almost got the try.
Tell you what,
it's in touch, but
I didn't mind Adam Clune. He took the line on a few times. He done a few decent cutout balls, and they said it during the thing. It's not his fault what's going on.
No,
he's debuting in a team so low in confidence and form that look, he did bring something different because Ben Hunt didn't really do much. Corey Norman did.
He was safe under the high ball, but that's pretty much the only chance he had.
Yeah,
which is really bad.
Who?
Tyson Frizzell.
Was he? I didn't really.
I'm just going to have a look at. I could be being harsh here, but to me, it seemed like he made a lot of errors, and I'm just going to bring up what is. He'll probably make a mockery right now and show that he did really well or whatever. But I hate this website when it does this. Hold on.
Hold up, I got it here.
You get it there. I need to full screen this, otherwise it doesn't work. But I know.
Okay.
Dumb
36 tackles.
Yeah.
13 runs for 150 metres. 15 metres. 1 kick return, 1 penalty, 1 error. So, look, it's not that bad.
Well, it's not bad if you look at stats, but when you watch him actually play, decision-making, not great. And the penalty he gave away was just dumb. It was the end of a set. 10 metres out from their own line, and he held on obviously too long, and it was just a dumb penalty to give away. And
it'll be. I'm curious what their roster is going to look like next year. So when something like this happens, a lot of other teams come and pick away of the good players. So obviously Frizzell's already going. It looks like Dufty's going to go to Gold Coast, and Jason Saab has asked for a release supposedly.
Yeah, it's not looking good over there.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting what their roster looks like because coming into a different team might help them. It might digress them. I don't know. But it'd be interesting how many players, because they're all saying they're all backing each other up, got each other's back and stuff. It'd be interesting over the next month how many players go, nah, done. Can I have a release? So, because when players play like this, and because we touched on it before, the quality they have maybe a lot of players in that team who are Origin players might go, oh, fuck this, I'm out. I'll go to another
It could
team.
hurt your rep chances.
Yeah, so, because like, I was sitting there thinking about watching today. Right now, you probably wouldn't have Paul Vaughan in the New South Wales team. Like, honestly, there's a few decent New South Wales front rows.
Jordan
like
McLean's playing better than him right now.
Yeah, Alex
and Campbell Gillard played pretty well.
Yeah.
He's still got
Safidi.
mistakes in his game, as Brad Arthur called him out on.
Safidi went up against Papali on whatever night it was. And look, Papali clearly beat him. Papali's Papali, but Safidi didn't do anything wrong either. So there's a few New South Wales forwards, and Paul Vaughan might be sitting there going, oh, look, the team's results are affecting my rep chances. So James Graham...
We'll get back to that in a sec. I want to get your opinion on that. So I'm just looking through the team stats here. The only thing that really separated these two teams was completion rate. Like, you're fighting for your season, and there was only 3 sets difference in the whole game. Bulldogs completed at 86%. Dragons completed at 71%. So it's pretty much an extra 1.5 possessions per sets of 10. And the Dragons just kept offering opportunities to the Bulldogs, and it took them 5-6 opportunities to finally crack it. Whereas you do that to a decent team, like say when the Bulldogs played Manly last week, they gave Manly an opportunity. Manly scored. Dragons had to give them 5 or 6, but they eventually scored. And once they got that first try, they went on. I hate the fact that Dean Pay took this long to make these sort of decisions. But I think Will Hopewadi at fullback changed that team. His ability to sweep, catch and pass far outweighs Watene Zelezniak's ability to do so.
Watene Zelezniak's a runner, not a passer.
Yeah, he's a winger. He's an out-and-out winger. So I'm thinking Hopewadi's going to stay there. Foran made a difference, not so much in his fitness. But
he was not fit.
No, he was not fit. But the depth of the Bulldogs' backline and the crispness with which the ball... made it. And he had a couple of errors with regard that's you'd expect with the amount of time he's had off. Lachlan Lewis, again, decision-making needs a lot of work, but his defense was pretty good. I think that Hopewadi at fullback, Remius Smith and DWZ are going to stay next to each other. Meany and other centre.
Oh, the other centre there was Holland.
Yeah, I think that's the side that he's going to keep experimenting with. But that was good. Oh, it was better. And the forwards were run in pairs today at least, and it was actually making the Dragons make decisions. I think those things look good for the Bulldogs. I just don't get why it took this long to make some of those decisions. Obviously, scoring can't be helped.
Tell you what, I know I keep coming back to it and I've got to stop, but... when McCulloch signed with Newcastle, 2 days later, 2 days later, they came out and said he's signed with Bulldogs next year? Something like that. And then they came out and said, no, we haven't even looked at him. I would look at him next year. He's 31. He'd come up on 300 games. He played 270 or whatever. And, like, you just said the service from Foran to the outside backs was good. If you got someone like McCulloch who just tackles and runs all day, bit of a leader in there, he might do better at hooker for Bulldogs.
Oh, yeah.
You might give him, like, when you see McCulloch, you don't imagine passing, but you do know he's a good leader. And he does make 50, 60 tackles every day.
Oh, Marshall King's deliveries from dummy half were less than desirable.
Look, I can't tell you what Newcastle are going to do because they'll have Brayley and Randall next year.
Yeah.
McCulloch's only on a 6-month contract or whatever.
Yeah, he wouldn't be there if Brayley wasn't injured.
Yeah, so if Bulldogs, I don't know what their recruitment's looking like, but I'd be sniffing around that one because, like, he's not going to be a premiership with him. He's not going to win him a premiership, but he's going to get him over that line for just a bit more, I don't know, solidarity in the middle.
That's it. Coming back to your James Graham point, now you were talking about, I didn't see this pretty much after the game finished. I was putting the kids down, but you said post-match was NRL 360, and you had
Hooper,
I guess they're called
Rothfield.
journalists.
Yeah.
I swear, like, between the three of them, Rothfield, Hooper, and Kent, they're secretly working for, like, the AFL or rugby union. Because I swear all they do is try and bring the game down every time.
Yes. So, okay. So, what they did was...
Rothfield needs to retire,
They got Graham on there. And Graham, everywhere you hear of him, he takes everything seriously. So supposedly he got into a punch-up with one of the players last year who was joking after they lost by like 4 points.
Yeah.
He takes it seriously. So he got on the thing, and I don't think he knew what was about to hit him, but they hammered the shit out of him. And they were like, are you going to get coached by McGregor anymore? Are you ready to retire? There's all kinds of stuff like that. They literally just went, what's wrong with the Dragons right now? And there's shit like that. The guy just got beaten by the Bulldogs. He's had a rough year. He's played over 400 games. They give him a bit of a little bit more respect, James. And look, he was nearly in tears. By the looks of him, he's a big burly front rower. He's like played.
He wears his heart on his sleeve. Every game.
And then they were like, they asked because he went off, and then they went, do you reckon he answered truthfully? Like they all went, nah. He just played the game, and I'm sitting there like, fuck you, leave him alone. And then they showed the Dragons in a circle when McGregor was talking. Yeah, and James Graham had his shirt over his head, over his eyes like this. And look, I can't tell you 100% if he was crying, but he didn't look good. And
Hooper got called out last week, and he was wrong. And then
Rothfield got called out today.
Rothfield gets called out all the time. He hasn't made sense for fucking ages. And Kent everyone just wants to replace the second letter in his last name with a U. And I know it's spelled differently, but it makes the same noise. Those together are like, they're one of the biggest thorns in rugby league side. And the shitty thing about Australian media is we are so I hate the fact that I have to go through Fox and them to get like some of the inside story supposedly. But God, I can't wait for the Athletic to come to Australia where we actually get decent beat writers per team and you can actually get facts without all the bullshit that comes with it.
The part that really shitted me off about the whole
situation, they are entitled to what they ask Graham, but you don't do it after a freaking game like that.
Yeah, and look, the part that really, really annoyed me about the whole situation was they're like, the fans want to know. And you're sitting there like, no, you want to write another article.
Yeah, that's a difference.
That's all that was. And it shitted me off. And Paul Graham, like, what he's done in his career over in England, in Australia, he deserves more than that.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, man, it annoyed me so much.
Oh.
So much.
No, Jared's just starting. He's hated it so much that Jared's leaving. I'm back. All right.
Nah, I just thought it was really disrespectful.
At the end, Dragons obviously in a worse spot. They're on the bottom. They haven't had a win. They've got the derby against the Sharks next week, and Sharks, they got a win. We'll talk about that later. They didn't look fantastic, but they got a win. But Dragons haven't scored a try in
180 minutes.
3 games now. That's not right.
No, 2
games now. Bulldogs looked a touch better, but God, they've still got a lot of work on. Anyway,
they're going to get brought back down to earth next week.
Let's move on now. This is going all the way back to Thursday night's game, first game of the round. In the lead up to this, most people were saying how much are the Roosters going to win by. The Broncos, I think Paddy Carrigan came out and tried to say that the Roosters forwards aren't going to get a free pass. Yeah, probably not the best thing to maybe say going into a matchup like this. And I I went back and actually watched this game a second time because I was quite critical of how critical people were of the Broncos and how awesome the Roosters are, because obviously going into it, the class difference was huge. What was there, 5 games of experience in the back row for the Broncos outside of Carrigan, and Darius Boyd, the only player over 25. It's a pretty young team. We knew that. I said that the Six again rule dominated more than the Roosters did. I'm going to backtrack on that a little bit. It helped definitely, but I think if those calls were at a different time of the game, the score still would have been massive. It might not have been that big. I think Broncos were always going to lose this, but the fact that the Roosters pretty much had the ball for the whole first 10 minutes, there was the perfect start they needed, and as opposite a start as Broncos hoped for. Yeah. And then the Roosters, you've got to give them bloody credit. They didn't take the foot off the pedal. You didn't see any complacency. There wasn't like a 10-minute period where they kind of were just throwing the ball around and making mistakes. They just kept going. And that's the difference between the game that we just talked about, where Bulldogs were on top for the majority of that game, and Roosters.
They legitimately scared me, that Roosters team. Do you know what?
And they what's really scary?
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say.
And Augustin.
Tedesco was out. So you're sitting there like, oh. But then they threw Morris in. And
God, he looked so good.
Yeah, they're just...
I hate to say that about a Roosters player.
No, he's not just a Roosters. Bulldog, Dragon.
I know.
But, like, those twins, they're pushing for Origin.
And they're still so underrated, I think. Their careers are still underrated for how many... You look at their try-scoring records, they're freaks.
Like New South Wales, back in Queensland's heyday, made teams a way of defending Queensland. Instead of attacking, they defended. So, for example, they put Bo Scott in the centres to stop Inglis. That did not work.
No.
Surprisingly enough. But no, the reason they did it was because it was back on, I think he was playing for Dragons, and Wayne Bennett moved in there.
Yeah.
And he beat him one game, so they're like, oh, New South Wales, they'll do it. Fucking. I still maintain the closest person to ever stop or nearly win against Inglis in Origin would be, I think it was Josh or Brett. I can't remember which one. The one who plays and says they're the only ones who have come close to beating Inglis and defended him, which is an achievement in himself, how dominant Inglis is. But they've just been doing the same shit for 15 years now. It's just amazing. With the Broncos, so it's kind of disappointing because we talked about at the start of the year about the fact that, well, not the start of the year, during COVID, but Anthony Seibold came out and said that he wants to do a rotation policy in the forwards because he has so many. It's kind of blown up in his face a little bit because of injury, suspensions, and I think he overestimated his talent, which everyone did as well. Like, everyone thought that Broncos forward pack could stand up to Roosters more than they did. But with the suspensions they have, they just got overruled by how big they were, which is super disappointing because the rotation system is something we didn't have a chance of seeing at all.
Yeah.
Which is I'm not overly happy about, because I wanted to see if that could work while going still well, but looks like the Broncos are going to struggle for the rest of the year. But it's kind of got proven a lot that their team is very unbalanced when it comes to the salary cap. So they're pushing so much for their forward pack, and where you've got and Milford's over a mil, boys on 800, 600 to 800. Look, the biggest worry for them as far as that goes is, are they going to lose Katoni Staggs? Because are they going to have the money to keep someone that talented in the team when if Melbourne came knocking on Katoni Staggs, they're going to find it hard to convince him to stay, but two, find the money for him. So
that's it.
I think their roster. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
There you go. Finish yours.
I think their roster. Look, I tipped them to be pretty well up there, just because they're forward pack and they're young. My reasoning was that they're so young and keen that they're gonna do really well with a shortened season, because I didn't think they could last a full season. But
they struggled the game.
Well, I overestimated Milford. He's not a 6. Unfortunately, he's not a 6. He's a fullback, and I don't think he's fit enough. Another point that came out of it was how well Lindsay Collins played.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay, that was kind of leading into my next point. One of the main I wanted to see if the 6 again rule did have as big an impact as I thought when I first watched it. The second thing, a lot of the criticism was coming out about the Broncos' effort. For anyone who's played any form of sport, right, you stop training for 2 weeks, let alone 2 months, your body reverts back to its normal state. You're puffed after running up a freaking set of stairs sometimes. Now, this is the first time these humans have had to play one of the toughest games in the world at fast forward due to a rule change. It's the first time ever that they've had continuous sets without a break. We've seen teams go ultimate defense and do some extraordinary things in Origin. Generally in that, there's like a forced dropout or there's a penalty or something like that where you even get 20 seconds of rest. During that rest period, your body starts to recuperate pretty quickly. If you're playing 10 minutes in a row, tackling some of the hardest runners in the planet, and doing 18 of them in a row or 12 of them in a row, especially if you're in the middle, regardless of how much effort you're putting in, you physically cannot keep that up. If you don't get a rest period, you physically can't do it. And there's nothing in training over a 2-week period since this rule's come in, 3-week period, that's going to get your body ready for that.
Yeah.
Now, we can say they didn't put effort in, and maybe they didn't put enough in for the first 10 minutes, and that's what put them in this place. But from then on, not one of those players would have got back to 100% of their capability by the end of that game. It's physically and physiologically impossible.
On that point, I was actually watching Sunday Night with Matty Johns the other night, and Matty Johns and Sam Burgess, one of the two, came up with this line, and it's in regards to Payne Haas. And I couldn't, the more I thought about it, it was so true. Just because you can play 80 minutes doesn't mean you should. So how much pressure are they putting on Haas to play 80 minutes as a dominant runner?
Way too much.
Well, he can defend for 80 minutes, that's fine. But his biggest attributes, his size, his speed, his agility. So why aren't they, like, for example, the closest thing to Haas is Tamalolo, right? They give him 20 minutes in a game on the bench.
Yeah.
And that's, you add that to half time, it's half an hour during that 90-minute period. So Haas should be getting the same thing. But look, we all love the fact that Haas can play 80 minutes. It's freakish. But maybe it's not in his best interest to be doing that. Maybe it's detrimental to the poor kid. Like every so often when there's injuries, maybe you have to do it. But give him 15 minutes on the bench.
Give him time.
Yeah.
And that was actually, I'm glad you led into that, because that was my biggest takeaway, because he was the one who missed the tackle through the middle of the field. Yeah. And it was Payne Haas stretching out with his arms when usually he's hitting people front on.
Yeah.
But he was stepped on the inside and he was just flailing, trying to catch. I'm like, you're talking about Payne Haas missing tackles in the middle of the field, and you're talking about effort not being put in. He tries harder than anyone on that field, regardless of what team.
He's played like 60 games.
He was physically spent. Like, and those who know or did any senior PE or whatever, your body's got three energy. Well, we say that three energy systems. Your ATP, which is like explosive energy, less than 10 seconds, and that's what Payne Haas uses when he gets the ball. His run, his step, his palm, etc. That's explosive energy. And once you use it up, you need time for it to replenish. And it replenishes quickly. But if you're continuously working and you use up all that energy, and you're using it up at a faster rate than you can get rid of it, you're into your lactic system. And as that builds up, you physically cannot perform at your peak. Now, yes, the Broncos dropped a lot of ball and they gave away penalties. But that's what happens when your body's under fatigue. They were run over so early that it compounded everything. And I'm trying not to... I'm not defending the scoreline or anything like that. Broncos were outclassed. It was poor decision-making. It was poor roster management also. But I'm not getting on board with their lack of effort for the whole game. But for the certain section at the start, yes, and that's what cost them.
Do you know what pisses?
Sorry, I just want to finish. I don't feel sorry for the Roosters, but they wouldn't have got anything out of this game. No. That was just a training from 15 minutes on. They did one awesome backline sweep move for I think their second try.
Yeah,
but all the rest was like
it was Kiri playing touch.
Yeah, it was 70-30 stats. You give Canberra the same stat line that the Roosters had and put them against the Roosters, they would have beaten the Roosters 30-6.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been 59-0.
They wouldn't have beaten them 59-0 because Roosters are a better defensive outfit. But you put them under that much pressure. So I'm just going to, let's have a look. So team stats. There you go. So 61 completions. 49 sets to 29. So 20 extra sets. If you gave Canberra 20 extra sets against the Roosters and an extra 1,200 run meters and making 400 less tackles and having 9 more line breaks, double and a half the tackle breaks, kick return meters of 315-60, pretty sure Canberra would beat the Roosters 30-6.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. It's they were just in the class above. Their forwards were more hardened. Like Broncos forwards have talent, but their forwards are just harder. They've played in more games. Put Rhea Hargraves is running at you all day. He won't stop. But what's something that really pissed me off that came out of this game was they were insulting Broncos roster management in their forwards. And one of the reasons was Lindsay Collins was a Broncos junior. They let him go. And he dominated him. He came back and dominated him. You know, I think he ran for 215 metres, scored a try, a few line breaks, stuff like that. Which he did. But he is being taught by, well, they say Rhea Hargraves is probably the best front rower in the game over a long period of time right now. He's got Boyd Cordner there. He's got Mitch Orbison. He's got Victor Radley. He's got Takiaho. He's got Friend. So he's being taught by some of the best, and he probably has one of the best internships, as you put it, by coming off the bench for so long. And then you turn around and look at the Broncos. So in the Broncos, you've got Carrigan, Flegler, Haas, Fafita, Pangai, a few others. And you've got to decide... No, well, I'm not really counting him because Collins came through at the same time as these guys, right? Yeah. So you've got to decide one of them you got to let go of. And they're all elite. They're all elite players. They're all going to play Origin at least, I reckon. Payne Haas and Fafita already have. And unfortunately, for the level Collins was, he got let go and he went to the Roosters. It probably will, right now it's working out better for his career. But you can't judge the Broncos for making that decision because they had to make that decision. Unfortunately, it's just what happens in rugby league. That's what the salary cap does. So the fact that there's headlines going, oh, look what you lost and all that kind of shit, these young force of Broncos, they're not getting taught by a Maria Hargraves or a Boyd Cordner or all those guys I mentioned. They're going in there learning for themselves.
All right. So who would you take, Collins or Pangai?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Collins.
Okay, Pangai for me.
Pangai.
Fafita.
Fafita.
Collins or Carrigan?
Seeing more of Collins, but I reckon in the long term I'd pick Carrigan.
Me too. I'd go Broncos all three so far. This would probably be the closest. Collins or Flegler?
That's about even. But that's the thing. They had to make that decision. They had to do it.
Yeah, so you can't. I agree with you. They can't get up. Another on that point. After that game, straight after that game, Tallis was on Matty John's show, and he was talking about the culture.
He wasn't on the Matty John show.
Sorry, what was it?
He wasn't on the Matty John show. He was on a radio show. And Matt.
No. I'm talking about who was on Thursday night with Matty John straight up.
Oh, Thursday night. Oh, I thought you were talking about Sunday night. Okay.
No.
On Thursday night.
And he was talking about when he came in. He's saying there were standards then, there aren't standards now. He talked about when he came in, you had Webke, you had Sinasita Thorn, like you stuffed up, these guys put you in line, rah, rah, rah. Now, that's all well and good to say, because then it wasn't till a couple of days later where Broncos fronted the media and Matt Lodge was asked about that. And he said that they've reached out to ex-players and legends and they've come in through the club and they've helped them try to get back on track, etc., etc. And he mentioned Tallis. He didn't say that they'd asked Tallis. He said he mentioned Tallis, like players like that. They're more than welcome for them to come in and help them and improve and rah, rah, rah. And then Tallis was asked about, is that something you would consider going back to help them? And Tallis was like, no, they've made their bed. They can sleep in it.
Yeah.
I was just like, whoa. He's just talking about the impact that all these legends had on him starting there.
That's
a bit harsh. Well,
I would agree
with.
I would agree with Tallis if he hasn't been bagging the Broncos for the last 5 years.
Exactly. All right. So we've covered a 59-0 game probably enough, but I agree with that point that Tallis is kind of here and there with his statements sometimes. I just had a look. I've got it up on my screen here. 59-0 the Roosters. Penrith 26-0 over the Warriors, and then Storm 22-8 over the Rabbitohs. You had those three up. It's 107-8 for and against. Anyway. So this is completely different. 59-0 Roosters. Now 26-0 Penrith over the Warriors. This was kind of just like I'm not going to say a demolition job. It was just a controlled game from Penrith from start to finish.
Yeah.
They didn't allow Warriors to get into their rhythm.
Yeah, I did question how Cleary was going to react after that, what I call a shit show against Newcastle 2 weeks ago. Like no matter how you swing it, they should have won that game.
Yeah.
But by the looks of it, what he's done, Penrith will react to it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I think the biggest thing that comes out of this game, who do you drop, Luai or Burton?
It'll be Luai.
I hope it's Luai. I reckon Burton deserves his chance.
Yeah, he's looking good.
Yeah,
not just with his 2 tries. He's just looking good. He's solid. He's confident.
His kicking game's good. He's a left footer as well, which would be good for Cleary. But tell you what, that's Stephen Crichton. Whew.
Oh man.
Jesus Christ, he's good.
Penrith got a good one there. Like he's just got athlete written all over him. He can jump, he can run. He's a goal kicker. He's got he's got it all going on. It's probably a cheapie in Supercoach as well if he isn't picked up.
Yeah, he's going to be good if they can hold on to him. Him and Kickow on that left hand side.
Yeah, it's a good combo. I've got to be honest. Penrith keep trucking along. I still don't know what I make of them yet. I'm just looking at their who they've had so far this year. So they beat the Roosters in round 1, and then they've beaten the Dragons and the Warriors, and they drew with the Knights. So they've beaten the team who's coming last. They've beaten a team that's been in Australia through this whole COVID period. Warriors have only beaten the Dragons, and then they drew with Newcastle, who were down to their last bench without Nick. So on the table, it says they're undefeated, which they are. They've had 3 wins and a draw, but I don't know how much stock I can place in them yet until probably next week. They're coming up against the Eels and then the Storm and then the Rabbits. So this will be their making, I think. They get Cleary back. I think that'll be kind of where I make a bit more of a judgment, but kudos to them for what they've done so far. They've put themselves in the best position. It was a controlled win against the Warriors. Warriors didn't give up. They still threw the ball around. They tried a bit, but Penrith were just too good.
I will admit that I've kind of not rated and made it. I always thought he was overrated in my eyes, but James Fisher-Harris has been playing well this year. Like he's been.
You had him as overrated, did you?
Yeah, I never. I always thought he was a bit of a fug, and just kind of got in there. But I think he's reduced that side of his game, and now he's in the front row. He's just running and tackling all day, and he just plays with that much energy. Because you got to admit, when he first came onto the scene, he had a few penalties in him. He had a bit of motion in every single tackle and caused a bit of issues that way, and all that kind of stuff. That's why I didn't like him too much, because I didn't think he was worth what he was bringing onto the field. But now he's pulled all that shit out of his game. He's still got the emotion out of it, but with less he's still got emotion.
Yeah.
But with less penalties and less issues, and his numbers are that good right now. So full credit to him.
Is he Origin eligible, or is he?
No, he's a Kiwi.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Kiwi.
Penrith keep trucking along, and I think next week's going to be it could be a different story. All right, the third game of the round was 2 previous losers, the Storm versus the Rabbitohs down in Melbourne. We both tipped Storm, both stating that Storm don't lose 2 weeks in a row, and they didn't. You got to give him credit. Latrell Mitchell was damn good in a losing side. It was probably his best game yet. But as a whole team, Rabbitohs just weren't there for enough of the game. I think it was a bit closer than it shows. Storm were just kind of more consistent for longer periods. Pappenhausen with the game breaker. Man, that dude's fast. Okay.
I just want to throw this scenario out to you.
Yeah.
Next week, Pappenhausen versus Ponga. Bradman Best versus Justin Olam.
Mm.
How good is Justin Olam versus Bradman Best? They're the exact same player.
That's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. Melbourne, just Melbourne, really.
They're still a long way off what we expect. Like you could see they were clunky. Their backline moves weren't there. Cam Munster, man, his chip.
Yeah.
That kick of him, like it's kind of, what was it, 5th and it was the 5th?
No, it's like 4th.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was kind of like Storm had kind of lost their way. He ended up with the ball. He spun around one way, spun around the other way, and then just perfect chip kick, left-footed. Is he a lefty?
I don't know, but either way, it was a talent.
It was a beautiful kick and just over the top. Easy try. Like I said, Latrell Mitchell looked good for the Rabbits, I thought. He looks fitter, as everyone does, as they get further through. He's still got a long way to go, but he was one of Rabbitoh's best. But they are missing
Walker and Roberts.
I was going to say Damien Cook.
No. He looked better with Murray at lock.
He did. I think Bennett kind of swallowed some pride and did that. But Cook's been almost invisible. We all thought that he'd be the one who benefited the most from this rule. And Cam Smith, dominated him.
It's not big of a surprise. Cam Smith.
Yeah, I know. That conversation of Hodgson being the best hooker in the world and
I wouldn't.
Wales hooker and whatever, but he was.
Yeah, for me, I think South Sydney are still trying to get their head around these rules, to be honest. See, last year when Cook was good, and I'm not trying to be mean to him, but his biggest attribute is his speed off the mark, right?
Yeah,
like if he gets a few leg injuries and plays for another 6 years, I've even said it before, I don't think he'll play for New South Wales because that's the only real difference between him and a lot of other hookers. He's just that quick.
Yeah.
He's not crafty like Smith, not even close. He's not even up to the toughness and the ability of Josh Hudson, I don't believe. And like last year, last couple of years when he was good, that was his thing. He got out of WR, people weren't ready for it because it was got those quick platables. Now everyone's doing that. And I guarantee you for the last month or so, that's what everyone's been training to do.
That's a good point, yeah.
To get on top of those hookers when they're doing that from quick platables, because that's what the new rule entails. That's what everyone believed was going to happen. So I personally reckon Cook came into the season thinking what everyone was, that he's going to be elite at this. But now everyone's kind of got onto the fact that they got to watch out for it. It hasn't worked out for him. And in saying that too, his forwards haven't really been pushing that hard through the middle.
Mm.
So
we see Kolomatangi get a crack off the bench, finally. Yeah. But also, two of the Rabbitohs players who are most going to benefit from this rule change, James Roberts and Cody Walker, haven't been there. And they both look as though they're going to be back next week. James Roberts, running from dummy halves, should have fun. I was thinking something on the weekend, like, when I was been analysing the 6 again rule, I think my mates would say as well, more than others, it's the first rule that I can remember that's come in that's affected all 13 players equally.
Yeah.
That I could think of, like the kicking dead rule affects predominantly your fullback and the people kicking the ball, which limits it to 4 players. Your 20-40 rule, same thing. The scrum rule, same thing at your backline. This is the only rule that's equally everyone has to adjust to. Now, your Damien Cook point, he can target you slower moving forwards, but their training has now changed.
Yeah.
So, and it's still going to take a year, 2 years for them to physically get used to it, but everyone's watching him now. There's going to be less people for him to pick on. So, Rabbits, 2 in a row. I don't know if there's enough pressure being put on Bennett at the moment. I don't think they've looked good.
Oh, I don't think there's any point in putting pressure on Bennett. He's already given an end date to his coaching.
Oh, that's true.
So what's the point of going
to step in?
Yeah. So there's no mystery about what's going to happen at the South Sydney Rabbitohs for the next 5 years. It's already done.
Is it 5 years?
No. He's ending in 2021 and letting Jason Demetrio take over. But there's...
Jeez, I've been getting Demetrio in earlier.
Yeah, well, there is a train of thought that Demetrio is going to take over in the end of this year. But it's not a big old debate about what's going to happen at South Sydney because you already know he's going to take over. So
yeah, okay. That's cool. But also to Rabbitohs, their start of the season when Sharks, Broncos, Roosters, Storm. That's when Broncos were playing well. It's a pretty tough run. Now they're going into Titans, Warriors, Penrith, Bulldogs, Tigers. So you'd be expecting them to pick up a few wins through there, especially with Roberts and Walker back. Anyway, all right. So that's 4 games done. Let's keep it rolling. Okay. Parramatta Manly.
Here we go. You can. I'll just sit back.
So it was billed as the best match of the round leading into this week, and in terms of quality, it was the best match of the round, in my opinion. Not the most entertaining game. I think that would go to probably the Titans-Tigers, even though it was horrible in sections. You didn't know what the hell was going to happen next. But in terms of quality, this was it. It was, I tell you what, if Parramatta was versing I'd say 9 to 10 of the other teams in the comp, they would have been up 12-0 in probably 10 minutes because the first 10 minutes of this game was dominated by Parramatta. And all to their credit, they started faster than Manly. They got on top. It was repeat set after repeat set, forced goal line dropouts, etc., etc. But like a Des Hasler coach team and what Manly fans have come to expect, maybe not in the last couple of years, but over the last 10 or so, the defense stood up. And it was 0-0, and the first points of the game was actually a penalty goal, from memory. The domination of Parramatta early on told at the end of the first half, where they got 2 tries in quick succession, and you could see Manly falling off towards the end of the half. Parra went in 18-2 at halftime. Now, sitting there at halftime, as a Manly fan, I'm like, you know what? We don't deserve to be in front right now. Parramatta have played better. We've hung in there pretty well, considering. I was a bit pissed that we let in the 2 tries late, but I'm like, there's no reason why we can't do that to them in the second half, and it proved that way. With Parra only scoring 1 point in the second half, and Manly obviously scoring 14. Let's not beat around the bush. The biggest call of the game came in the last 30 seconds. Backline move out to the right. Trbojevic throws a ball that does drift forward, but it obviously came out backwards out of the hands. Ruben Garrick still had 15 metres worth of work to do. Bulldozes his way over the line, gets called back for a forward pass. Parramatta win. I don't think I've seen the NRL come out so quickly after a game and state that an official's call was incorrect. I wouldn't be surprised if that official stood down for next week. I don't buy into the argument that 2 referees would have made a difference. It wouldn't have. Forward passes are generally called by your touch judges.
Which you did call it.
I
would. Touch judges call.
Yes, I do side with the argument that a touch judge would have been... Touch judges are better on the touch line than referees. And at the moment, in order to keep the full-time referees employed, they're on the touch lines, which they're not used to doing on a full-time basis. So that's one thing I think the NRL may look into going forward. I'm torn here. I was pissed off when it happened because there's no replay that it's a no doubt call. There were people trying to justify, but Manly got away with the Dylan Walker try, and then Manly fans were like, but Parramatta got away with the Kane Evans try, and then Eels fans were trying to say you got away with the Origin Kafusi try. I was like, no, I'm drawing the line there. That was like a full clear separation, but the Walker it was like whole hand came off the wall, but the Walker and Kane Evans tries both had doubt in there, and I can see both arguments. I don't see how you can use them as arguing points against this last one. So that already happened in the game. Both of them had doubt. This pass had no doubt. It was 100% clear as day. It came out the back of his hand. I wasn't sure what they'd all stopped. I thought someone had hurt themselves until they called forward pass. And you're like, anyway. I thought Des Hasler handled himself really well. I hate Mitch Moses for what he said, but I also love what he said after the game, because I'd expect a Manly player to say the same thing. They asked from Trbojevic, he was cut, and they asked Mitch Moses, what about that pass? Did it go forward? He's like, 100% it went forward. We got called back for one last week. Definitely went forward. We deserve to win. And I'm like, God, I hate you right now. But if it was on the foot was on the other shoe, if the shoe was on the other foot, I'd want a Manly player to say the same thing. So, yeah, it is what it is. I'm torn between the fact that they made a call and backed themselves, even if this time it was wrong. I think it highlights again, they need a way to review those sort of calls, especially when it's not just a try, but a game-winning play. I don't buy into the argument that Parramatta deserved to win because they were the better team. If you're the better team, you would have scored if they were the better team and deserved to win, they would have already been in a position where that try wouldn't have made a difference. They had enough ball and enough opportunities to win their game earlier in the game and didn't do it. They allowed Manly back into the game. Manly played well and had a chance to win the game. And if it was called right, did win the game. So I guess if Manly take anything away from this, it's the fact that Para did play probably more consistently through the whole game. Yet Manly still won bar that last call. Time in possession, there's 30 seconds of difference. Para had a cup of 150 more run meters, considering they had 15 more runs. Line breaks are the same. Tackle breaks, Manly had 10 more. Average set distance is the same. Completion rates are 2% difference. Possessions, 2% difference. Like, to say that Parramatta dominated, if you just look stat-wise, no. If you look game-wise, yeah. But, yeah, I guess that's what it is. I just hope in a shortened season this doesn't determine a 5th compared to a 4th place spot for Manly. But they'll move forward. They got Hasler. If they play like that every week, they'll win more than they lose. How's that?
Yeah.
I think that's very measured.
Considering what would happen if we recorded this on Saturday night.
I honestly got more pissed off at people's reactions trying to justify earlier guys having a different people saying, dude, it went forward. It can fucking travel 40 meters forward. It doesn't matter as long as it goes backwards out of the hand.
We both know people are stupid. So for me, the only reason I'm torn is because
there was so much negative talk. So it was the best game quality-wise of the round. So.
The only reason I'm torn is because Parramatta won. I'm perfectly happy with the referee making that call, even if he's wrong or not. Just because
you're happy with them making the call.
Yeah, they made a call.
The right call.
Yeah, they make a call. Look, we both know that in the long run, it's going to turn around again for Manly. You're going to get a call eventually. That's just how this game works, is it?
There's going to be a time where there's going to be 50-50 and they'll call it because of this stuff up. We already know it's going to happen.
So I'm not... Look, it could, like you said, it could have gone either way. It came down to the last 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
No one would have begrudged either of those teams if they won because, like you said, it was so even in the stats. Parramatta probably were on top at other times, but they also let Manly back into the game with, I'm assuming, because I don't actually watch the game, but I'm assuming that Manly played like Manly and Cherry Evans orchestrated them through the rest of the game.
Actually, Dylan Walker was outstanding.
Okay.
Actually. Okay. And also, Ruben Garrick missed 2 conversions. So.
Well, there you go. So that's a point against Manly because they had 2 opportunities to get the 20.
But also Moses missed 1, so even if Garrick got back to his
21. But look, the games where it comes down to these 2 are probably some of the better teams in the competition.
Yeah.
It comes down to big moments.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying about the forward pass. I'm saying to the kicks. Every kick matters in these games.
Yeah.
And so if you've got a good kicker, I will admit Garrick's been off recently.
He has.
I would say Garrick's a better kicker overall than Moses, but he has been off recently. So that could have changed how the game.
I wouldn't be surprised if Cherry Evans is kicking next week.
Has he been that bad, is he?
Yeah. Well, he missed 5 last week and then he missed 2 this week.
Yeah. So, look.
7 out of...
For someone who didn't watch the game, I'm not going to complain about anything that happened individually, but other than Parramatta taking away the 2 points, it sounds like it was pretty even. So
you look at the previous week, Parramatta beating Broncos 32-6. Yeah, 36-2, something like that. And Manly beating Bulldogs by almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
right? So they both smashed two teams, and then they've come against each other, and it was pretty much...
Yeah, so both those teams are going to be hard to beat when the finals come around, because they're both going to make it, by the sounds of it. Just, I think Hasler's going to come back out of that and go, "Oi, boys, who gives a shit? Let's go play next week."
Yeah, he was actually really good. He did take exception to some of the 6 again calls. I do agree with the commentary on that 4 weeks ago, all the coaches and all the players are saying, "Yep, rule change is cool. Let's just get back to playing footy. We'll deal with it when it comes." I don't think he really has a leg to stand on right now in talking about the differential in the 6 again calls, because rest players, coach, everyone's still getting used to it. I didn't really agree with him on that one. But yeah, he handled himself quite well. The players were distraught. But I also think if this was Titans versus Tigers or something like that, it wouldn't have blown up as it did. And we'll talk about that as we get to it.
Yeah, but look, I'd be happy with your effort, and I would.
Oh yeah.
I'd come out of that positive, because unfortunately Parramatta are a good team this year.
Oh, and we can't say that. We just
unfortunately fucking Parramatta are a good team. I'm off.
Okay, there we go.
But yeah, and you stood up to them, and you're probably even with about throughout. And hopefully it comes down to a real good game at the end of the year where Parramatta throw a backward ball directly behind them. We're going to call it a forward pass.
2 years ago, I probably wouldn't have cared about watching the second half, because I would have thought, "Oh crap, we're down 18-2, we're not coming back." Now, I honestly wasn't worried. One thing I did get fucking shitty about, I probably shouldn't by now, is like going on social media afterwards and they're like, "Did this pass cost Manly the game?" And some people are like, "I didn't give it's Manly, who gives a fuck?" And I was like, yeah.
Adam, you're funny. You should not be getting shitty over that.
I'm like, it's just obvious jealousy right there. It's all good. It's all good. So yeah, probably 2 finals bound teams. Then Seagulls have Broncos next week, so that'll be interesting. All right, what do we got? 3 to go. Wasn't a good night in the Hoy household. My wife's team's the Cowboys, and there were sections of this game where I was watching the Cowboys go, and you know what? When Michael Morgan comes back, I don't know where they're going to put him, because Clifford and Drinkwater with Val Holmes looked damn good. Holmes looked he had an up and down night. He set up some tries. He made some mistakes for the Sharks. Jesse Ramian just had a freaking blinder. Like
we had a chat about that last week.
He was just off tap. Like 2 tries, one a big breakaway try. He shot on who got shot at? Justin O'Neill. Ouch! He broke him in half.
Yeah.
Ronaldo Mulatalo looked quite good, but then also looked quite bad. There was like a 5-minute period where the Cowboys dropped the ball, Sharks ran the whole field the opposite direction, and then it happened straight back to them. Yeah, I don't know. Sharks just had less bad periods through the match than the Cowboys did. I wouldn't say there was dominance either way, apart from Ramian's individual performance. Did the Cowboys miss Tamalolo?
It could be a 10-point difference.
It could, but you also look, possession-wise, Cowboys had 54. Sharks had 46. Cowboys had more time in possession. Their completion rate was only 60%. 25 out of 41.
How many run meters did Cowboys make?
They had 169 runs for 1,500 meters. Sharks had 7 less runs, 162 for 1,600 meters. So it was a 120 meter difference.
This add at least 250 onto Cowboys total, and that's
they'd be in front by 70 meters.
Yeah, so that could have made it. Look, he's elite enough to make a difference.
Yes. Matty and I were looking at maybe not have even been his running, it may not have been his meters, it may not have been his play the balls. The fact that when Tamalolo gets the ball, you've got 4 defenders concentrated on him, which leaves gaps elsewhere. That's his biggest strength for his team. Yeah. That could have definitely made the difference.
missing Tamalolo in that situation is probably a big deal. But
also,
I didn't watch this game either. I was at a party, but from what I understand, it was kind of even as well as the last game, because both teams had their bad moments throughout the whole game. I don't know where I got process from. So, I'm not. I don't see Sharks. I think there's too much bullshit going on there with their unknowity where everyone's going to play.
I think they're slowly starting to work that out just through playing.
Well, when Townsend goes back, unfortunately, Will Kennedy is going to get dropped, which he
played pretty well.
Yeah, so he's going to get dropped for Molan. But I reckon he will. There you go. That's my bet. I think these teams will be either 8th or 9th or 10th, pushing for those positions.
This is the first time we're going to talk about this fella and his analysis in the game, but we'll talk about Cooper Cronk and how good it is having a player who's literally a year out of the game analysing games, not doing play-to-play commentary, but just sitting there and watching the games and giving us analysis. And Jared said before the show, he's actually got the runs on the board. I can stomach Cooper Cronk analysing the other team's halfbacks. In cricket, I could never stomach Dirk Nannis criticising Pat Cummins or Mitch Starc in a test match because he wasn't in the same league as those guys. I will listen to Cooper Cronk, and I've been loving it. And he talked about Sean Johnson going, "You're on big bucks. Yeah, you had some pretty good moments in this. But holy shit, he had some bad ones. Like the kicking for touch, Sharks were in control and he had a kick for touch, an easy kick for touch, shanked it straight back into the field and the Cowboys got it. And your top player doesn't make that mistake." And he criticised him pretty bad to the point where he was even saying how good Molan looked at 5'8", and Townsend's just steady. Even talked about Johnson being the utility on the bench.
We actually talked about this before the season. We talked about the fact that Johnson has to earn his spot. So, like I said, stick him on one side and only let him play that side. Because when I reckon, and I don't know if Cooper Cronk, we'll never find out if Cooper Cronk agrees with me, but when Johnson has too much power and you go, go have fun, go do what you want to do, he does a lot of stupid shit. Which, he does. It's the best way of putting it. Yeah, he does a lot of stupid shit, which isn't good for the team at all. But when you give him a controlled game plan and go, you have to stay there. These are the 4 set plays you're allowed to do them how you want with your second rower. But if you move from those or move from your position, you're in trouble. That's when I reckon, when he's in the controlled game plan, I reckon he's the best. Because then he has to stick to that game plan. But when he wants to do something like outlandish and freakish, like he's got the talent to do, he does it sparingly instead of trying to do it every second play, which he does. Which someone's got to just put a stamp on him and go, stay there, do this. And then when you get a chance to do it, do it. Not something freakish every single time.
Like if anyone saw his grubber to Ronaldo Molitalo's try, like it was just, I think I was just watching it with Matty and went, oh, that was gorgeous.
Yeah.
20 minutes in from touch, that curving. That's the thing. That's the skill that this guy has. Like the curving touch. How can you go from that to not even kicking out to touch, kicking touch at the full? Like, there's too
many. That's the thing. If you do give him too much power and too much freedom, I think freedom's the best word. I think he's got that in him. But when you give him directions and then go, when you see something, make sure it's going to work before you do it. And I think that's how he has to be played.
Yeah.
You can't just,
so we're talking about there also, like, it's just refreshing to hear Cooper Cronk and his analysis, and he's so direct. Yeah. He calls anyone out. Like in the Dragons Bulldogs game, he was saying the Dragons middle forwards are staying in the middle. They're not shifting out wide, and that's why they're getting exposed. They're not doing a good enough job. Boom. Sean Johnson, that's unacceptable. You at this level can't make those mistakes. This is what you're meant to do. Boom.
Yeah.
He's just calling people out. He's calling coaches out. But you're going to have a very hard time finding someone more credentialed to go against him because he's played at the two most successful teams of the last 15 years, and you're not going to be able to argue against him. I think the last thing here, errors, Cowboys 17 to the Sharks 9, and that's what cost them the game in the end. They just gave Sharks too many opportunities, and they needed that many opportunities to score. I don't know if this rights the ship for the Sharks, but it's at least a step in the right direction. Cowboys would have won that on another night if they'd held 4 or 5 more sets. So Cowboys will get players back, as will the Sharks, next week. All right. The only match of the round I didn't get to watch. We've got 2 to go. I know we said before the show we're going to try and be a bit more crisp and precise, but again, there's just talking points all over the shop. Congratulations, Jared. Knights 34 over the Raiders 18.
It is what it is. I'm starting to expect that from Newcastle now.
All right, let's move on.
No. So, I actually said this to a few people. Canberra came back for about 15, 20 minutes in that second half when they scored 2 quick tries. Because I'm so used to losing, I thought we're going to blow it. I thought they were going to come back, but then they held out.
That was actually the only period of the game that I saw was Canberra's 2 tries coming back.
Yeah.
And they're going to fold.
And they score them. Yeah, that's what I thought. And I'm pretty sure everyone was like, oh, shit, because even the commentators were like, if it was any other team, they'd go, oh, they've already got this despite those 2 tries. But it was worrisome. But then everyone's kind of giving credit to, the Ponga, the Pearce, the Bradman Best, which they should. They played amazing. But not many people are talking about Aiden Guerra. He played 90 minutes against Penrith, and I think he played 65 or something against this Canberra team. He was amazing. He's tackled all day, done a few hard lines. And then you got Tim Glasby on top of that, Safidi, all the players that aren't really as mentioned in Newcastle, because obviously you got the brilliance of Ponga. They're the ones who are making this team good, I reckon. They're the ones making those shit plays. Guerra is, you could probably call him the shit kicker of the team just because he does all the shit that no one else wants to do. And that's what I like about it. And it's going to be interesting next year because I said Frizzell, when he comes in, they'll probably let go of Guerra because this is his last year of the contract. But the last 2 games, you can't get rid of Guerra. And then then you got Fitzgibbon and Barnett to come back.
Not getting rid of them.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's going to be really hard for Adam O'Brien. Which brings me to the next point. Adam O'Brien, I think his mantra this year will be stick to your defence and your attack will come. With Pearce and Ponga, your attack's going to be fine. You don't have to worry about it. But their attack if you actually watch it, is so fucking boring, but it works. And Newcastle forwards are so fit, like Safidi twins are that fit, that a lot of teams are struggling against them because they're poking their head through every single time, but they just keep coming. Herman Essa is doing the same thing. So for that reason, if you look at their attack, they go 3 sets of 6. Oh, sorry, every set of 6 at the end, Pearce has bombed the shit out of the back 3 from Canberra. And they did struggle for a little bit with it, but he put his kicks in the exact right position. Majority of Canberra sets were starting 2 meters outside of their own line. But if you look at their sets, three of them are just forwards straight off the hooker. That's 3 sets in a row, not tackles, 3 sets. And then the 4th set, they'll just get the wingers and centers to come in. And then the whole rotation starts again. It's a set of forwards, and then winger. and centres. And so it's so boring, but the way the game is played now is so effective. It's working so well for them. And a lot of teams are trying to do these massive block plays and all that kind of sweeping plays. But Newcastle are gone under the radar as far as winning this season by not doing that. They're just passing the ball along and then, give it to their strike weapons in Ponga, Pierce, Best. And so I like it. It's for that reason it's good, because they're not trying to do too much. They're just having a simple game plan and executing it, which is really good.
I got 4 dot points out of these. It's this Bradman Best kid. Like everyone else, I haven't seen a lot of him. I know you'd already talked about before the season. Big fella, I'm enjoying watching him play. Can't wait to see what he can do throughout the rest of the season. Second thing, George Williams again, another good game. That little chip kick. I was like, oh, what are you doing? Third tackle, but taking the chance to do something like that and getting the kick just right. Wasn't defended as well as it could have been by Edric Lee, but Canberra Izza wouldn't have tried that. Josh,
did you see when? Did you see when George Williams put that chip click in and Kalen Ponga just dove in the ball?
Yeah.
2 minutes after he got tested for HIA. Holy shit! He's a ballsy little fella, isn't he?
Yes. He also may not have been thinking straight, but anyway.
Yeah. Either way.
Papali's bloody ad-lib. I'll pick up this offload off the ground, freaking bulldozing people. Oh, man. There's nothing as good in rugby league as like Aaron Woods got an intercept against the Cowboys, and he around. You could tell saying, someone catch me. I don't want to run all that way. I don't care how much space I've got. And then I think just in one game, Kalen Ponga showed why he's worth 1.1 million.
Oh, yeah.
If he can have down games through the year, if it's against teams like the Tigers and Titans, where the rest of the Knights team should probably get up for the win. If he's like, wouldn't say invisible in those games, but he's not the man of the match, that's fine. But if he's pulling out matches like that against the top teams in the league, that's worth your 1.1 mil.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Knights. Sorry, Jared, do you want one more to finish that one?
Yeah, everyone was talking about Ponga. That try is good, it was great by him, but when you think about it, it's pretty shit defense by Canberra.
I thought his pass.
Yeah, that was going to be my point. The best part of his game was that pass to Bradman Best, which put Edric Lee over. That was
gorgeous. That was gorgeous pass. There wasn't even an overlap there.
And I know you want to move on, but I just want to point out about Ricky Stewart.
Oh, yes.
Post-match thread. He just pretty much said they played like children and Newcastle were better. And fuck yeah, good on him. It was honest. It wasn't, we did this right. He goes, nah, we lost against a better team. We didn't play to our potential. What else you want me to say?
Coaches talking straight. Let's wait till this. Yeah, I really hated Ricky Stewart growing up because he played for Bulldogs and they were beaten Manly quite easily, and then he played New South Wales. But I do love him as a coach.
Yeah,
I love how he does things his way and sits on the sideline and all that sort of stuff. So
Canberra's still going to be in it, and I hate to see who they're playing next week because I think they're going to be in Melbourne. How we said in Melbourne, we're going to come out and
they're going to be.
Yeah, they're going to be hard to beat next week.
And the Rapana experiment on the bench did not look good, so that'll be interesting.
Well, they brought him on as a lock because Jack Whiting got injured.
He went to 5'8".
No. So what happened was Havili
they just didn't play with a 5'8".
No, Havili went to
hooker.
Williams went to 6, and Hodson went to 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because I saw like a sweep play with Rapana getting the ball straight to his chest, and he wasn't expecting it knocked on. He's like, "Oh shit! I usually just catch it and score."
Yeah, no, he's. I think Samosan, unfortunately, because I think Samosan deserves his spot, but I think he has better utility value than Rapana does.
All right, on to the last game. Oh, sorry, the last game on Sunday. Probably the most entertaining game of the round.
Oh.
Absolutely horrible in patches, and then tries like that one that West Tigers pulled together. A bit of over-the-top sort of passing. You had bloody Anthony Gong looking like Superman with a tries and coming out of nowhere, jumping over the top of people. You had Tim Simona, bloody Norfoluma getting like his standard double.
He's a freak.
Oh, what else happened? You had Kevin Proctor finally getting over the line for only his 37th try of his career.
And Philip Sani scoring that amazing try at the end.
And then all of that coming off a kick that I believe was going to be a bit more controversial than what it was. There wasn't much talked about whether that kick went 10 metres. And it was saying, with regards to technology, it'd be the same technology you'd rule on that than you would a forward pass, because the still image that I think Joey Leilua put up on media showed Brian Kelly's foot in between the 40 metre and the 50 metre lines where he was standing, not his whole body wasn't 10 metres. And where he caught the ball, you could argue whether it had actually touched the 40 metre line or not, because it was up in the air. And depending on the camera shot, it can make it look either way. So that was another call that the rest gave to one team that allowed them to keep possession of the ball, and they went on and scored to win the game. But again, like, we'll come to Michael Maguire's comments in a second. Tigers should have won this game. They had a double-digit lead twice against a team that hadn't won in literally a year today. And they let him get back in it. And God damn the Titans, man. I'm loving this Justin Holbrook, because when he's pissed, he looks pissed. But when he's happy, he actually smiles, and he was clapping, and he shows emotion. He doesn't just sit there passive.
Do you know what my favourite part of it was?
No.
Gold Coast reaction when they won.
Yeah.
They were so happy. You don't see that too often. And so stoked. And to win like they did, Ash Taylor looked like he got the world off his shoulders. It was just...
I think Holt's done that by bringing Jamal Fogarty in at half and giving Ash Taylor that extra time and a bit of space.
Yeah, that's what...
He just looked so much better at the 6. He had more time for his kicks, decision-making. Who else was big? Keegan Hipgrave coming on was a ball of energy. Fodawaker was awesome. And Jai Arrow was huge.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up
that
too.
Try.
I actually gained a lot more respect for Jai Arrow after this game, because going back to their reactions, like, he's going to South Sydney next year for like $800,000 a year.
Yeah.
So he's going to potentially a winning team next year, and he's going to be like, him and Cam Murray are going to be like the centerpiece of the forward back. So he already knows what he's doing, and he's going to be reasonably successful. His reaction to that win was probably, he reacted heavier than everyone else, where a lot of players were like, I'm set for next year, win or lose for the Titans, I don't give a shit. This year's not going to affect me. I've already got the runs on the board. He was happier than 90% of that team, just because of the fact that he's that kind of guy, I reckon, that he loves the positive side of rugby league. And
he just wants to play and have fun and
so
win occasionally.
Well, the poor bastard hasn't had a chance recently. But I really like that, his reaction to it, because he could have been a typical douchebag player and not cared as much.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what was funny though, them trying to remember the team song.
Oh yes. It was like, was anyone here last time we sang it?
You look at Keegan Hipgrave, he's like looking around going, oh shit.
It was like these ones.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Same with who's the other team that have one? Oh, Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Hey, Dylan Napa did not know that song at all.
I think through injury, I think Justin Holbrook's kind of almost stumbled against his backline now, because my standout performer of the whole weekend came from this game, and it was young Tonamapia.
Yeah.
His first 80-minute game, damn it, he played with just the energy he brought, and give us the ball, I want to be involved, rah, rah. And then having Philip Sammy at fullback, I think...
that was a late injury too, yeah.
Yeah, and that was, again, Tyron Roberts being ruled out again. It's 2 weeks in a row. So I'm thinking Philip Sammy's going to be your fullback going forward. I think young Tonamapia in one game has tied up that centre spot.
That's probably...
I still think Copley and Kelly will switch. I think Kelly will... Or, I don't know, they may. And then Don and Tonamapia together. And then some version of Copley and...
Kelly
on the other side to allow Pete to go back to a second row. They were fun to watch again.
Like you look at all the coaches in the NRL, you've got your high end like Robinson and Bellamy, and what makes them a good coach is they have a pair about them. They have balls to make big decisions.
Yeah.
And then you go on the other end, you've got McGregor, who only made big changes this week.
Yeah.
Holbrook, probably about a month ago, he came in with an idea what his team was like, and then throughout the season he's gone, you know what, this isn't working. I'm going to change this up. I'm going to make these players earn their spots every single week. And he's had the balls to do that. Whereas that would probably be my number one criticism of McGregor, where these players have got a reputation amongst the St. George team, but he hasn't got the balls to stand up and go, you're not playing well enough, see you later. And
Seabold might take something out of that, because it looks as though Boyd's going to hold his spot for next week, while other people are going to lose
which is good. It also, I've heard a rumour that Corey Oates is going to play in the second row next week. I hope not. But yeah, so that's what I really like. Okay. That's what I really like about Justin Holbrook, that he goes, no matter what your reputation, which they don't exactly have a great reputation, most of those players, but he's willing to change if you're not standing up to the game. So I really, really like that about Gold Coast, and I hope they do a bit better. Hope they stand up to a lot of these teams.
I enjoy watching them. So yeah, I think the NRL needs them to do better to finally get a team in the Gold Coast in any sport that's going to step there without support.
Next year they're going to, because they won't have Arrow, they're going to build their team around Fodawaker, which is a Gold Coast junior.
Is he ineligible, or is he Kiwi?
I have no idea.
I'll have a look.
Yeah,
and to
he's just going to be, he's a wrecking ball, and he has a crack. So I love the fact that because Gold Coast haven't really produced many juniors over their time that stayed with Gold Coast. And the fact the fact that he goes out and has a go every game.
He's good to watch.
Yeah, and people struggle to tackle him, and he's got a heart the size of a massive heart. So yeah.
He reminds me of Fanua Blake when I first started watching him at Manly, because I didn't know anything about him apart from the fact he had jail time.
But just half the size.
Yeah, half the size. But he gets in, has a crack. When he's on the field, there's no real nonsense about him. And just to finish on, I think we've given some coaches a rap and some coaches we've kicked in the guts. But I love Michael Maguire after the game, and his comments saying, like again earlier, Jared was referring to Ricky Stewart not calling it completions and this and that and whatever. He's just said the performance is unacceptable for where we're at. I'm sick and tired of the ups and downs of performance. It's as simple as that. We need to change it. We need to change what this club has been. We need to fix the way that our club does things around the way we perform. People talk about whether or not we can win the big games or challenge the big teams. We need to fix that, and we need to fix it fast, because I've seen a bit of it over my period. We've got to own the performance against the Titans and be very honest about that, because we've got to come out next week against Canberra. I freaking love that. He didn't throw his players under the bus because he prefaced that by saying, we busted our ass in training this week. And he was referencing how well they played last week. And he's sick of them playing well one week and for the next. And by the sound of it, training was no different with regards to their output. And that's just like, we're doing everything right, guys, but you can't just half-ass some weeks and play better some weeks.
Yeah, well, who Tigers played last week?
They beat 28. I can see the score.
16. Cronulla.
28-16. That's right, okay. Yeah, 28-16.
Okay, so the two games I'd like to highlight on that point is that Tigers came up against a team they weren't expecting to beat in Cronulla, and they played, as Maguire said, a better game. And then this week they came up against Gold Coast, and they lost.
Yeah.
Do you think they came in a bit half-hearted? Because another example would be...
Yeah, that's what the Tigers have been the last few years, though. They play...
Yeah, because they're not respecting the opposition team.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah, so another example would be Canberra last week came out and played one of the best games they've ever played against Melbourne and beat them. I personally don't think they respected Newcastle too much when they walked out of the field.
I don't know. I think that's a little bit different in that this is something the Tigers have been doing for a couple of seasons. Also, the fact that Canberra's already a good team and Melbourne did not play as well as they did against Canberra because Canberra didn't let them. And then Knights did to Canberra what Canberra did. They didn't allow Canberra to play well.
I don't know.
I think Knights dominated that more than Titans dominated this match.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, again, guys, that's a big wrap. I think we've balanced out our dislike of some teams with giving them compliments with how well they've been playing. I'm going to say that I've shifted a position in my top 8 for the end of season. Even though that they have won, I've dropped the Sharks out of my 8 and I have put the Knights in. I think they've still got a little bit to prove, but the fact that they're playing like this without Fitzgibbon, without Brayley, without Watson, and without Barnett, 4 players that would be in their starting at least 14, we'll say, with Watson as a utility or wherever they were going to put him. And with the impact Adam O'Brien's had, I'm liking what I'm seeing. And even though the Sharks won, they're still 1-3. So they still got a bit of a hole to dig out. But I think we'll leave it there, guys. It's going to turn around to our next episode. This is Tuesday morning, and we'll give you the round 5 preview Thursday morning.
If you want a proper rundown of what Newcastle, how good they what they're going to do, next 5 weeks they're up against Melbourne, Broncos, Cowboys, Manly, and Parramatta. So that's pretty well someone in each part of the draw. So it's going to be just interesting how they handle that because they've got a pretty rough next 5 games.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see. All right, dudes and dudettes, shoot us in a message if you'd like to. Our website's on our bio on Instagram, Twitter, and it's also on the... You can head to it off the Spotify feed or Apple Podcast feed.
See you guys.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to 6 Again. Connect with the show on Twitter, Instagram, and the 6 Again website. All links via the show's bio. Be sure to check out Adam's craft beer choice of the week.